She's just a civilian, Commander. Keep her out of the way while we handle this. Those words echoed through the cabin of Flight 819 as Staff Sergeant Elena Ghost. Reeve sat perfectly still, her breathing controlled, watching 3 hijackers with AK-47s control 42 passengers at 35,000 feet. Lieutenant Commander Jake Harrison from Dev Group didn't know who she was. First SFOD operator, one of the few women rumored to have completed Delta selection course, now traveling under civilian cover. When he slipped his Sig Sauer P226 into her hand during the 4th hour, everything changed. Because sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one nobody sees coming. Staff Sergeant Elena Reeves, 31 years old, sat in seat 23C of the commercial Boeing 767 from Frankfurt to Washington, D.C., wearing jeans in a Georgetown University sweatshirt. Her military ID stayed buried in her bag. She was on emergency leave after her father's heart surgery at Landstuhl Regional Medical Center, traveling back through Frankfurt's commercial airport after processing out through Ramstein's military gateway. If you're watching from anywhere across America, whether you served or support those who do, hit subscribe, because this story reveals what happens when warriors hide in plain sight. The hijacking started at hour 3. 3 men, former military by their movements, professional and coordinated. They'd assembled weapons from components hidden in the forward galley's catering carts. A corrupt ground crew member had placed them there during servicing. Elena counted their patterns. 2 controlling the cabin, 1 watching the cockpit door. In row 19 she spotted him, Lieutenant Commander Harrison DeGrew, trying to look civilian in khakis and Apollo. She'd recognized his walk when he boarded that specific gate operators develop after years carrying heavy kit. He was studying the hijackers, planning something. He didn't know Elena existed. Didn't know Delta had an operator aboard too. Elena grew up on Fort Bragg. Her father, Command Sergeant Major Marcus Reeves, served with 1st SFOD for 15 years before losing his leg in Iraq during the 2004 Fallujah operation. He raised Elena alone after her mother died, teaching her Arabic, Farsi and Russian at the kitchen table, while other kids watched cartoons. At 16, she could disassemble an M4, blindfolded, in under 30 seconds. At 18, she enlisted, intentionally masking her aptitude during early training to avoid standing out, while quietly posting perfect tactical scores that caught the attention of selection scouts. The 75th Ranger Regiment noticed her first. After 2 deployments, she volunteered for Delta's selection course. The cadre were skeptical. Few women had attempted it. 24 weeks later, she became one of the first to complete it, finishing a 40-mile ruck march with a 100 pounds pack-in under 12 hours, then engaging targets at 500 m with a 98% hit rate. They called her Ghost because she could infiltrate anywhere, disappear into any crowd. Syria, Yemen, Somalia, always low profile, always successful. Her last operation eliminated a terrorist cell planning attacks on 3 U.S. embassies. The report remained classified, her name redacted from every document. Now she was returning from emergency leave, her father's unexpected heart surgery at Landstuhl Regional Medical Center. Instead of a quiet flight home, she sat watching former soldiers turned mercenaries terrorize innocent people. Her training demanded she stay covert. But these hijackers had just taken 2 children to the front as leverage. The lead hijacker, calling himself Victor, made passengers record video statements condemning American military operations. Elena watched him work, former special forces by his weapon handling, possibly Eastern European based on his accent, but ideology unclear. His partners were younger, nervous, fingers too close to triggers. Lieutenant Commander Harrison tried to identify himself to Victor, offering to negotiate. Victor laughed, pressing the AK barrel against Harrison's chest, forcing him back into his seat. He announced that American forces had killed his brother in Syria. He'd been recruited by a terror cell that promised revenge, mixing mercenary skills with extremist ideology. Elena observed Harrison's frustration. He kept glancing at two other passengers, probably his teammates, also traveling separately on leave. Standard dev group protocol: never fly together. Operationally, but on personal travel, just bad luck. They'd ended up on the same flight without weapons or comms. They were just fit guys in civilian clothes. Victor noticed Harrison's physique, his tactical breathing, the way he tracked threats. He ordered his men to zip tie Harrison's hands behind his back, then did the same to the two other SEALs Victor had identified. He missed Elena completely. She perfected the art of looking helpless, shoulders hunched, eyes down, breathing fast like a terrified civilian. The hijackers' plan became clear. They weren't planning to land. Victor kept checking his watch, mentioning paradise, talking about impact. The passengers didn't understand, but Elena did. She'd seen this before in Yemen. Suicide hijackers who'd used the plane as a weapon. Harrison caught her eye during hour 4. Something in her posture maybe, or how she'd shifted to maintain sight lines on all three hijackers. He couldn't place it, but his instinct said she was different. When Victor took two more children forward, Harrison made his decision. The 6-hour P-226 was hidden under his seat. He was traveling on a State Department protective detail assignment. Rare diplomatic security authorization allowing concealed carry. With his hands zip-tied, he couldn't reach it. But the woman in 23C could. Elena felt the weight of the moment when Harrison's eyes locked on hers. He didn't know her, couldn't know her. But operator recognized operator even across a crowded cabin. His subtle foot movement marked the weapon's location. Reach under seat 19B. Retrieve it. Act. Her cover would die the moment she moved. Tactically, 5 years building the Ghost legend, becoming Delta's most valuable clandestine asset. One movement would burn it all. But those children at the front, maybe 8 and 10 years old, trembling against their mother, who was trying to stay strong, they made the decision for her. Elena thought about her father, recovering from surgery at Landstill, still serving wounded warriors despite his prosthetic leg. He'd lost everything in Iraq, but never complained, never stopped serving. He'd understand this choice. The mission always came first, even when there was no mission. Even when you were supposed to be nobody on a plane. She counted heartbeats, slowing her breathing. 3. Hijackers, wide-body cabin. Configuration: 42 civilians including 7 children. The SEALs were neutralized but could move if she gave them time. Harrison's weapon would have a full magazine, 15 rounds of 9mm. She'd have only seconds once she moved. Before Victor realized what was happening, her tactical mind ran scenarios while her face maintained the terrified civilian mask. She trained for aircraft takedowns at Delta's training facility, but that was with a full team. Flashbangs and backup. This was alone. No armor, no support. Elena started hyperventilating, deliberately making herself seem panicked. She clutched her stomach, doubling over. The nearest hijacker, the youngest one, glanced at her with disgust. Weak American woman, his expression said perfect. She stumbled toward the bathroom, hands shaking. The hijacker waved his AK at her, telling her to sit down. Elena collapsed to her knees in the aisle, crying now. Crocodile tears she'd perfected during resistance training. She crawled forward, babbling about being sick, needing air. Lieutenant Commander Harrison understood. Immediately, she was moving toward his row using hysteria as cover. The 767's twin aisle configuration worked in her favor. She could use the left aisle, while hijackers watched the right. He shifted slightly, using his foot to mark the weapon's exact position. The other seals caught on, creating small distractions. One coughing loudly, another knocking over a water bottle. Elena reached row 19, collapsing against the seats. Passengers in 19A and 19C leaned away from the seemingly sick woman, giving her cover. Her hand slipped under Harrison's seat while she pretended to dry heave, fingers finding the Sig Sauer instantly. The weight felt right, properly maintained. She tucked it under her sweatshirt in one smooth motion while a passenger offered her tissues, blocking the hijacker's view. Victor was getting agitated. He ordered Elena back to her seat, starting toward her. She had maybe 10 seconds before he reached her position. Harrison whispered something that sounded like concern for a sick passenger, but was actually target priority. Cockpit guard first, Victor second. Leave the nervous one for us. Elena stood slowly, swaying. Victor approached, aka raced the distance. Close 15 feet, 10 feet, 5 feet. Elena's transformation took 2 seconds. The terrified civilian vanished as she pivoted, deflecting Victor's AK barrel upward with her left hand while the Sig Sauer cleared her sweatshirt. First shots, the cockpit guard, 2 rounds. Center mass from 12 feet he dropped. Before processing what happened, Victor tried to bring his weapon down, but Elena was already inside his guard. She drove her knee into his solar plexus, using his momentary paralysis to put 2 rounds through his chest. His AK clattered across the cabin floor. The third hijacker, the nervous young one, froze for a critical second. Harrison and his teammates were already moving, using their body weight to snap the zip ties. Elena tracked to the final target, but passengers were scrambling, blocking clean shots. The hijacker raised his weapon toward the children. Elena adjusted her stance, waited half a second for the angle to clear, then fired twice, center mass, not risking a headshot with civilians nearby. The hijacker collapsed against the forward galley. Total elapsed time 6 seconds. 3 threats neutralized. 0 civilian casualties. The cabin erupted in chaos. Screaming, crying, people diving for cover. Harrison and his team immediately took control. One SEAL securing the cockpit, while another checked the hijackers for additional weapons. The third began treating a passenger who had been grazed by a ricochet. Harrison approached Elena, who was already safing the Sig Sauer, her hands steady despite the adrenaline dump. He looked at her technique, her breathing control, the way she'd moved through the engagement. Everything clicked. He asked quietly who she was with. Rangers group? Maybe. Agency? Elena handed him back his weapon and returned to her seat without answering. She pulled out her phone, typing a coded message to her handler. Package delivered early. Grandmother's recipe ruined. Standard extraction protocol that meant her cover was blown. The plane made an emergency landing at Ramstein Air Base, Germany. FBI legal attachés, Air Force Office of Special Investigations, and German Federal Police swarmed the aircraft base. Security secured the weapons while medical teams triaged passengers. Elena sat through 4 hours of debrief with base security and FBI, maintaining her graduate-student cover until a joint Special Operations Command Colonel arrived with her classified credentials. Lieutenant Commander Harrison found her in a secure waiting area afterward. He learned her real identity from the colonel, one of First SFOD's most valuable operators. He admitted he'd heard rumors about female operators in Delta but never confirmed. understood why she'd maintained cover. Even after the shooting, Elena's clandestine career was over, her cover permanently blown. But JSOC had other plans. They assigned her to Fort Bragg's Special Warfare Center as an instructor in the Special Operations Training Cadre, teaching advanced close quarters combat and covert operations techniques. Her father attended her change of command ceremony 6 weeks later, standing on his prosthetic to salute his daughter. 3 months later, Elena received a package from Harrison. Inside was a DevGru Challenge coin and a note for the ghost who saved us all. Your secret died so others could live. The official report listed the incident as passengers and crew successfully resisted hijacking attempt. No names, no details about the woman who'd fired the shots. But 42 people knew the truth, including 7 children who went home to their families because someone sacrificed everything for strangers. Elena still teaches at Fort Bragg. Her students call her Ghost, though they don't know